Welcome to this Bible study. The readings that we're using are the ones for the fifth Sunday of Easter according to the Narrative Lectionary. They're Acts chapter 18 verses 1 to 4 and 1 Corinthians chapter 1 verses 10 to 18. After this, Paul left Athens and went to Corinth. There he found a Jew named Aquila, a native of Pontus, who had recently come from Italy with his wife Priscilla, because Claudius had ordered all Jews to leave Rome. Paul went to see them, and because he was of the same trade, he stayed with them, and they worked together. By trade, they were tent makers. Every Sabbath, he would argue in the synagogue and would try to convince Jews and Greeks. Now, I appeal to you, brothers and sisters, by the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that all of you be in agreement, and that there be no divisions among you, and that you be united in the same mind and the same purpose. For it has been reported to me by Chloe's people that there are quarrels among you, my brothers and sisters. What I mean is that each of you says, I belong to Paul, or I belong to Apollos, or I belong to Cephas, or I belong to Christ. Has Christ been divided? Was Paul crucified for you? Or were you baptized in the name of Paul? I thank God that I baptized none of you except Crispus and Gaius, so that no one can say that you were baptized in my name. I did baptize also the household of Stephanas. Beyond that, I do not know whether I baptized anyone else. For Christ did not send me to baptize, but to proclaim the gospel, and not with eloquent wisdom, so that the cross of Christ might be emptied of its power. For the message about the cross is foolishness to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved it is the power of God. It is this word that's highlighted for you, message, in Greek, logos, that I want to particularly look at today. This word logos occurs 328 times and is translated different ways in the scriptures. However, I want to take a moment and have us think about some of the questions that are on the screen. What is the message of the cross to you? According to some of the translations, it could be sayings or words. We've heard the scriptures sometimes described as an orderly account. But I wonder if the message of the cross is something else, something more than words and sayings, something more than an orderly account, a history, one might say. Is the message of the cross something more than that? Now, God sends all sorts of different types of messages into the world. Paul delivered some, Jesus delivered others. Jonah delivered this one. The word of the Lord came to Jonah a second time, saying, Get up, go to Nineveh, that great city, and proclaim to it the message that I tell you. So Jonah set out and went to Nineveh, according to the word of the Lord. Now Nineveh was an exceedingly large city, a 3 days' walk across. Jonah began to go into the city, going a day's walk. And he cried out, 40 days more, and Nineveh shall be overthrown. This certainly is a hard message uh, one that is difficult for anyone to hear, that their city will be overthrown. But yet, at times, God calls people to deliver such difficult messages. Take a moment and think of how you deliver a hard message to someone. What is it that you say? How do you prepare? How do you make things easier for the message to be received? And take a moment to think about what's the best way for you to receive a hard message. What is it that you would like someone else to do? Now, if we take those things and think for a moment about what about the story of the death and resurrection of Jesus makes it so hard for people to understand. Is it that we get tied up in our scientific belief? Is it that we get tied up in our modern day culture? Is it that it just doesn't seem to play out as true in our world? What is it about this story that makes it so difficult, so hard? And what would be the best way to communicate that message to the people you love? When we go back and we look at this ending from 1 Corinthians, we see that we are to compare it to this section of Isaiah 29, verse 14. So I will again do amazing things with this people, shocking and amazing. The wisdom of their wise shall perish, and the discernment of the discerning shall be hidden. We know that God can do wonderful and amazing and marvelous and incredible things. How will God help us share that message of love, with all of the people that we meet? Well, thank you for taking this time in study. I hope that you can go back and maybe pause the video at points and think of those questions again. And certainly please do send your thoughts along to me, and I can include them in another session. Thank you, take care, and God bless.